Yes, I know, we don't even have Sonic X Shadow Generations yet, but maybe we should start talking about what the next remaster is going to be. Hey, what's up everyone, it's SpeedSuperSonic brings another video. In this video today, that is right, we are back talking about more Sonic the Hedgehog remasters. And while yes, Sonic X Shadow Generations is still on the horizon, there's been a lot of talk recently about what the next Sonic remaster is going to be. Really, well, ever since Sonic Colors Ultimate, but because of recent comments from the head of Sonic team, Takashi Iizuka, there's been a lot of discussion, and he's even given his own insight into where a new Sonic remaster could go in the future, what they could be looking at, how they're going to determine all this stuff. There's some very interesting stuff. In fact, we're going to be reading an entire article here from comicbook.com, which is of course a very reputable website. It's not some like schlubby little place. It should go without saying that there's no confirmation, like Iizuka didn't just casually drop like, oh yeah, we're going to do Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2 remakes next, and then we're going to remake Sonic Rush, and then we're going to drop a remaster of Sonic Lost World even though the game's under 10 years old. Oh wait, it's over 10 years old. Wait, I'm so old. So without any further ado, let's dive into the article, see what's being teased, what's being talked about, and then we can really decipher and kind of predict what we're going to see in the near future. Sega considering next Sonic the Hedgehog remaster. Which Sonic game should get remastered after Sonic X Shadow Generations? At Summer Games Fest, Sega revealed a lot more information about Sonic X Shadow Generations. The game will include both a new section centered on Shadow, as well as a remaster of Sonic Generations. After countless remasters and re-releases of Sonic's Genesis outings, Sega has started to put more of a focus on his 3D adventures, which is so good. This remaster of Sonic Generations comes just a few years after Sonic Colors received a similar treatment. In an interview with IGN, Sonic team boss Takashi Iizuka discussed the possibility of future remasters and how Sega will determine which game will be selected for that treatment. So we got a pretty lengthy quote coming up right here, so we got a lot of meat to chew on here. Pause. Wait, that came out wrong. I didn't mean that. When we remastered Sonic Colors and there was Sonic Colors Ultimate, we kind of wanted to think about what we could bring next as a remastered title. At that time, Sonic Generation was kind of what everyone was really excited about, I guess. So, what they really wanted and was really hungry for. That's why we chose to do Sonic Generations, and we added the Shadow Generations portion. Depending on what people like out there, if there's a title people like, we'll think about it for the next remaster. And then the rest of the article really goes on to do their own speculative bit, but we're not going to read that because you guys are here for my take, not comicbook.com's take. So a few things to point out. The first thing why I was kind of giggling throughout half of that quote there from Iizuka was the fact that, well, yes, everyone loves Generations, it's a pretty great game, and people would have liked to see it ported to new consoles and stuff. I'm not sure if that was the one, like the, oh yeah, for sure, this is the title that everybody wants. Like, yeah, everyone loves Generations, and I'm glad we're getting this game, especially with the Shadow Generations aspect of things, but there was clearly other titles people were asking for in terms of even just a remaster. Of course, people talk about the adventure games all the time, but in terms of remasters, we've kind of received those. Could we receive new ones? Would those be nice? Yes, but I feel like if you're going to touch adventure again, you kind of have to just straight up remake the games, and that was already a plan. If you guys aren't aware, Sega was already working on remaking the Sonic Adventure games, both 1 and 2, during the mid-2010s, but inevitably ended up canceling it because it was so terrible. There's been no word on it since. There's been discussion, of course, as it's a large topic of conversation, especially with the popularity of remakes and stuff, but there's not really that. But then there's the other game when people bring up remasters that a lot of people like to talk about, and that is of course one of the most loved Sonic games at this time, and that is Sonic Unleashed, which was originally released in 2008 on Xbox 360, PS3. A lot of people would still say that game is one of the best looking Sonic games, if not the best looking Sonic game. I think it definitely still holds that crown. And it's kind of crazy because that game came out in 2008 and we're in 2024. Despite the game still like holding up, we're getting further and further away from the console generation that game was originally released on. Can you still find ways to play Unleashed nowadays? Yes, but not as accessible as it should be. I think a lot of people want to see Sonic Unleashed on modern consoles and also fix aspects of the games that kinda held it back a bit. I think one of the biggest aspects of Sonic Unleashed, which outside of the Werehog, which of course some people are gonna have problems with, was simply the medal collecting, and I think you can make the Werehog levels a lot more fun if you just simply shorten the amount of medals that you need to collect to access different parts of the map. It became a bit much, like you almost have to search every nook and cranny of a Werehog level in order to get enough sun medals, and same applies with Sonic in the modern levels. It just made it not super fun. Like the progression was cool, but maybe tone it back a bit, or remove the medals in general, I have no clue, or make the medals a different thing that unlocks different things, we'll see. People aren't asking for much with a Sonic Unleashed remaster. They simply want it on new consoles. They of course want it on PC. That has been the discussion for years upon years. I feel like ever since I was born, that conversation has been surrounding Sonic Unleashed. It's kind of crazy. It's really crazy, in fact, that Sega hasn't touched it, but it's understandable for partial reasons. At the time of Unleashed's release, it was not very well received. Of course, there were people who liked it, and even critics who liked it, but there was a lot of very loud voices and a lot of voices that did not like Unleashed. Now, of course, it should be noted that since that time has passed, Unleashed has gained a unfathomable reputation in the fan base, considered to be one of, if not the best Sonic game, by a lot of different fans. Unleashed just so happens to be my second favorite Sonic game of all time, just trailing that original Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm not even kidding. It is my favorite game, you guys know that. If we're going to get a remake or remaster, that's what I would choose. Is that gonna happen? Never. But if it happens, you guys won't be seeing me again. I'm walking off into the sunset. I got my job's accomplished. But Unleashed, I feel like if we're going to do it, now's the time. Already, if you kind of look on the social medias of Sonic, or different forms of media like comic books and all of this different stuff, it showed that Sega isn't afraid of Unleashed necessarily anymore, to at least acknowledge the game in the same way they might be with some other titles, like maybe some of the storybook stuff, or especially Sonic Boom nowadays. It's merchandise, they put them in like the little mobile games, and they put them on the Sonic Roblox game and all that stuff. They're not afraid of Werehog, they're not afraid of Unleashed, or the connotations or reputation behind it. And also the biggest part is that not only have the fans been adoring Sonic Unleashed, including myself as of late, and acknowledging its greatness and how it was maybe a little ahead of its time in terms of a Sonic game, but also a lot of the critics, a lot of the more large-scale blogs and stuff, well, yes, it might be a little ridiculous, objectively, that Sonic turns into essentially a werewolf in a video game. People have warmed up to it, and IGN, when they did their whole top 10 Sonic games thing like a year or two back, they put Sonic Unleashed in their top 10, a far cry from what they originally thought of that game. And we all know how much Sega values IGN's opinion for some reason. I hate using the word objective, but I feel like when you're looking at fan discourse around what are people craving the most when it comes to a new Sonic remaster, Sonic Unleashed is just kind of the go-to answer there. That's what everyone has been asking for. When people were talking about Sonic Generations getting a remaster, it was really more out of like the likelihood of things. They were like, oh, if they're doing colors, that means Generations next, I guess. Okay, cool. We like Generations, but we'd probably like to see something else. And that something else is, you know, Sonic Unleashed. I feel like once when you get before Unleashed territory, that's when you kind of have to not really look at remasters. You kind of have to look at remakes. I feel like with Sonic 06 and backwards to SA1, all of that stuff, you gotta remake if you're gonna touch those games again and resell them in today's market. It's not a remaster situation, you gotta, you know, fix a lot of stuff. Another reason why you can simply remaster Sonic Unleashed is because if you play the port of the game, or just simply the game on modern hardware, like your new Xbox, it runs significantly better than it did at launch, which of course technology has advanced, but it shows without a remaster even happening, if they are able to properly, you know, touch up some things, fix some things, add things, of course, to the game, which I feel is going to be necessary if you're going to charge like, what, $50 I'm assuming for the game in today's market. It can't be that hard of a task. It just might be a little scary touching a game like Unleashed again, which of course, once again, wasn't initially well received at the time in a way that a Colors or a Generations is. Of course Sega's going to go back to those games to remaster them because they're going to go over pretty well when it comes to the reception and the sales and all of that stuff, even though I don't really know how well Colors did in terms of its remaster sales, but I think this could do really good. It would be a hit with fans. I think people would be very intrigued by this. It's inherently an incredibly interesting game. One of the biggest reasons I think Sega should do this, Sonic Unleashed was like one of the highest selling Sonic games, still is to this day. Until Sonic Frontiers came along, I think it held second place. Regardless though, the game sold like hotcakes. It did super well, and yes, it was released under like every console under the sun, but if you can do that today, you won't have too much of a problem, especially if you get that PC port. I'm telling you, the PC thing, fans are going to go insane for that. Sega will never hear an ounce of criticism against them again. People will be happy. People will, you know, ascend their spirits to the heavens because of how happy and euphoric that feeling that they're experiencing is. I just think when he says, we'll see what people want, we'll see what the signs point towards, all the signs point towards Unleashed. This of course isn't me saying that Unleashed is going to be next, but I think Unleashed, as it stands right now in June of 2024 and beyond, is far more likely to happen than it was in the past. And honestly, if we're looking at remasters here, it makes the most sense out of any Sonic game. And like I said, all the games before Unleashed are just kind of stuff you would have to remake. Unleashed makes the most sense when it comes to into a remaster, and I would put money on that being the next one. Once again, don't take this as confirmation that it's going to be the next one. My prediction though, when we see another Sonic remaster, it's going to be Sonic Unleashed. But this is where I pass it off to you guys and ask what you think. Do you think that the next Sonic the Hedgehog remaster is going to be Sonic Unleashed, or do you think it's going to be a different game, or what's something you don't expect but would really like to see? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what you guys have to say. Feel free to follow my social media links, my Twitter and Instagram in the description below. You can follow those events because of my life feature update and all things Sonic the Hedgehog. If you want to support the channel, feel free to become a channel member and get your name at the end of every single video, and you can become a patron to get behind the scenes and early look at videos. But most importantly, if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. This is the number one edition on YouTube for all things Sonic, whether it's video games, TV shows, movies, comics, merchandise, and more. We talk about it all. Sonic Movie 3 stuff is right around the corner. We got some more Sonic X Shadow Generations coming. So much stuff is in the works, including more games coming soon. I feel like this year still has a lot of surprises. Stay tuned. I love all you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
And be right by the motherfucking seaside, dog. Everything I see, I got a dream. I thought these leaves would go and take me out the dark. I know everything I wanted to far away.